are live. I do apologize for being late. Worked great all day, and then all of a sudden, here we go. It doesn't work, right? So we're going to go live. We are. I do apologize for being late. I hate to be late to anything. I'm not quite sure where how I'm going to upload the notes because I'm coming in a different manner because we couldn't come in the manner that we wanted to. But we're still going to do this because we promised to do it at this particular time, right? So where we are. So Jessica, if you will let me know that I am live because I think that I am, and we're just going to take it from there. All right. How do you dispute your taxes? So I'm going to be putting the notes into my Facebook post here in just a little bit. And then, in fact, what I'm going to do, shoot, I hate that I cannot show my computer. You know, it's life, right? You learn to punt, but it is a little bit frustrating to not be able to show my computer because I have everything set up for you. But let's do this. If you're on and you would like to have my Word document that I have everything on, if you will shoot your email into, you can just PM me separately, and I'll send it to you. And then that way you'll have it, because for some reason I can't show my screen, and unfortunately I'm having to do it in a different manner because it worked all day except for now. So it's all good, right? We will go from there. All right, so let's first talk about the first thing you need to do if this is um, your owner occupied. And so you'll see Jessica Kanga, she's in the chat room. So if you guys have any questions, she'll let me know. Also, in addition to that, if you can, you can just PM me your email address, or you can shoot me a quick email, or you can put it in the chat room, and I'll put your email address in there for you. We'll send you the data. All right, so let's first talk about a homestead. All right, what is a homestead? So if I had 10 properties, one of those is my primary dwelling, and so I'm able to file for a homestead and get a discount on a property. Now, the state of Texas across the board is 40,000 exemption, meaning you get immediately 40,000 off of your school taxes if you have a homestead. Every county is going to be a little bit different and it depends also in a lot of counties on the value, but 40,000 is the standard exemption on school taxes. So if your house is worth, and I'm just going to make this up, is worth 200,000, then if you have a homestead on a property, then 160,000 gets taxed as far as school taxes are concerned. Now, every county and every city is also different on how they tax their city, their county, their school, in addition to any exemptions to that. Every county is different on what their percentage is. Like you've got Collin County is a different percentage than Kaufman County. Dallas County is a different percentage than Ellis County. But then also each city within those counties are different in how they tax and what the percentages are. All right. But 40,000 is across the board on school taxes if you have an exemption. But the homestead exemption, if this is the primary home, getting that $40,000 discount or whatever that discount is actually not the big savings. The big savings on having an exemption, a homestead exemption on a property, is that in the state of Texas, you cannot go any higher than 10% increase in taxable value a year. So if you look at taxes, and again, I do apologize that I'm not able to show you here, but I'll send it to you. But if you look at a county and let's say for an example that last year they valued my house at 100,000. So so the following year, if I do have a homestead exemption on that property, then they can't tax me. A taxable value can't be more than 110. If I don't have a homestead on that property, they can tax me for whatever they want to increase it to. Now I can dispute, but they can increase it for whatever they want to. But if I have a homestead, it can't go any higher than 10%. So back to our example, if we have $100,000 tax value this year, then the following year, even if the house is worth 200,000, the taxable value is only 110 if I have a homestead, because I can't be taxed any more than that 110. Now, here's the caveat. Two things. So if I'm being taxed, if I have a homestead and I'm being taxed at 100,000, and I sell my house, and let's say I sold it in the end of 2021, then that homestead cap, that 10% cap, comes off. So in the year 22, with the 22 taxes, I don't have a cap. So if that house was 100,000 and capped, couldn't go more than 10%, but that cap comes off because I've sold the property. Then if the house is worth 200 in taxable value in 2023, then it's going to go all the way up. The homestead cap gets released when there's a sale or a transfer. Then it starts over again. So in our example, we closed in November 2021. Homestead cap gets removed. 22, I don't have a cap. 23, I don't have a cap. Year 24, because it's 24 month or 12 months round, right? So in 24 is when my first cap comes in place. So whatever 2023 taxes are, in 24, it cannot go any higher than 10% now. So that's one of the big things to know, is that cap does come off when you sell or transfer that property to someone else. So what could happen is someone is being taxed on this 100,000, and the following year, because the cap has been there for the last 10 years, so it couldn't go more than 10%, 10%, 10%, 10%, 10%, even though it's been worth more because appreciation has gone up more. It could literally go up to 200,000 the following year because that cap gets removed. But on the other hand, if you're in that home and you have not filed a homestead, and that's the home that you're living in as your primary dwelling, then it's going to be really, real important that you make sure you have your homestead. I talked to a client yesterday, and she's like, my taxes have gone up hugely. And I said, well, let me pull up the house. And they had not filed for a homestead, and they closed in 21. And I said, you guys didn't file for a homestead. We talked about that. We sent you guys some we were like over and over and over talk about it, right? And we're real busy. We didn't get our driver's license changed, yada, 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 and so on and so forth. Well, the problem now is not only did their taxes go up because they don't have a homestead, but they don't have that 10% cap, so their taxes went up significantly because of that. So I gave her some direction on what to do. Technically, you're supposed to apply for your homestead by the 15th of April in most of the counties in Texas. Some counties will let you, if you go and say, I didn't realize this, and let you go back a year or two. Each county is a little bit different. So, you go beg and plead because you really want that homestead on it. And also you want to get that cap on there as quickly as you possibly can so that 10% is there. All right, so that's the first thing to know, is the homestead exemption is like the most important thing. If this house is your primary dwelling, go into CAD. So if it's Dallas County, it's dallascad.org. If it's Collin County, it's collincad.org. Tarrant County is a little weird. It's tad.org. If you do tarrantcounty.org, you won't find it. So like Kaufman is kaufmancad.org. You can go in there. You can see if you've got a homestead on there. If you can't tell, just call. There's a phone number. Each of them have a phone number. This is how to reach. Then make sure your homestead is there. So that's the first and foremost. And again, if you'll put your email in the link for me. I do apologize that I can't show my screen for some odd reason. My computer decided about 5 minutes before we were to start acting up. So go figure that, right? I have no idea why, but it is what it is, so we keep going. I'm going to have little pretty screens and all of that for you, so I can email it all over to you. All right, so that is the first thing to know, is just make sure your homestead, but also make sure if you're buying a home, then that has a homestead cap on it, that cap will get removed until 12 months later, and then your new cap starts over the following year from that 12 months. So if that's a little confusing, I apologize. All right. So how do you dispute? So every county has a dispute form. You probably got a dispute form, and I'm going to put in the chat room some notes that we're going to talk about. But every county has a dispute form on their website, and so if you do that, Jessica, I'm trying to copy something here. Let's see if it'll let me. Oh my God, my computer won't even let me copy and paste in the chat room. Seriously, it has worked all day long. It's all good. This worst thing all day, then we're good, right? So I can't post in the chat room for some reason the notes that we're going back to talk on. So again, Justin will send them over to you if I can, and then if you could post them in the chat room if you're allowed to, because Lord knows it's not letting me. So bear with me 2 seconds. It's always one of those frustrating things. And Jess, it's not even letting me copy and paste. I do not know why not, but it's not. So we'll put it in there later. All right. So if you are going to file for your exemption, so the first thing to know when you're filing for exemption is every county, every website has an exemption form. They all look similar. They're going to be a little bit different. Collin County's looks a little bit different than Dallas CAD, etc., etc. But on the other hand, they look about the same, and they're going to ask for the same information. So it's kind of a non-issue. All right. So the first thing to know is, should you protest your taxes? All right. So I'm a big believer the answer is always no to yes. Okay. And that's a lot in life, right? If you don't ask for it, you don't get it. The answer is no already if you don't ask for it. And I want to show off my Fairway Friday, Red Friday. All right, so in our company, we all wear red for Fairway on Friday, and it's for Remember Everyone Deployed. So if you see me in red on Friday, you always know why. So I always want to talk about that. All right, back to our homestead, right? All right, so the answer is always no till you ask. So if you don't ask, I mean, they can tell you no, but they're going to tell you the answer is no already if you didn't file your homestead. All it's going to cost you is a little bit of your time. Now you can use an outside service, but if you can do it yourself too. So however you want to do it, it's pretty much going to be the same thing. All right. So again, when you always make sure your homestead is filed if this is your primary dwelling. That's again, there's if you do nothing else, that is the most important. It's going to ask you what your reason for protest, and you always want to put value over market value, not equal to others. Again, I'm going to put these notes in there as soon as I can get the notes, and I will send them over to you. And again, so apologize that I cannot show these on my screen. All right, secondly, when there's a blank in there, it says, what do you think the value is? Leave it blank. He who speaks first loses, and in my opinion, And so you let them put the value first. All right. You when you ask, you always want an ARB. An ARB is an appraisal review board. You always want to do that. You can do it in person or you can do it on the phone. You can do it in a Zoom, whatever you want to do, but you can do it. You don't have to go there. You can if you want to, but that's, most people don't do that anymore. You may want to send it by certified mail. You don't have to. Some people just want to make sure it gets there. You have to have it postmarked by the 15th. So you got 10 days as of today to get this done. Make sure you make a copy before you mail it. So did you know that, so many people don't have copiers anymore, right? They just don't. They can maybe print something out, but they don't have a scanner or whatever. Did you know you can take your phone and go into the app called Notes? I use Notes for everything. And you can go in there and there's a place that you can select that you scan it and you can actually make it into a PDF. It's actually pretty cool. My clients use it a lot just for their documentation that they send to us, because nobody, a lot of people don't work from home work from the office anymore, and they don't have printers at home, so they use that. So it's just a side note. It has nothing to do with mortgages or protesting, but just wanted to let you know. All right. So you want a appraisal review board, a ARB. Maybe send it by certified mail. You want to make a copy of it so you'll have your notes, and then any notes that you put in there, you want to make sure you have them, so when you talk and do for the appraisal review board, then at that point, you already know what you said, right? Um, Typically, you're going to have what's called an informal meeting first. You want to attend. Again, could be Zoom, could be phone, whatever the case may be, but you still want to be a part of that. Suggestions for what to present for lowering value. We can do an AVM if you'd like, but what we're typically finding that our AVM is actually a little bit higher than what they're even taxing you, so it may not help you. Once in a while it will, but there's a good possibility it won't help you. But never be proud of your home when it comes to taxes, right? So you want to talk about, it needs a lot of upgrades. It's not comparable to the area because it needs new fence and it needs new this and needs new this and that kind of thing. So talk about it. Maybe it backs up to a busy street or commercial buildings. Maybe it backs up to apartments. Maybe it's on a busy street. What can you do to say, hey, really, it's worth less because of this? And so whatever that reason is, we had a client that used apartments because their house backed up to apartments, and so we talked about, there's value lost because it was backing up to apartments. So again, whatever's needed, right? Or to say, hey, it's not worth what you're telling me or you're taxing on. Also check the square footage in CAD. Did they overstate your square footage? So is it in line for how much it went up in the market? So for an example, on my houses, on my rental properties, our average went up about 5%, where last year it went up about 12 to 15. 5% really is market, but I'm still disputing because the answer is no till you ask, right? I pulled the AVM, it still was probably about in line, right? But the answer is no till you ask. Well, why not file a dispute? Doesn't cost me anything but a little bit of time. So yes, we're going to go ahead and we'll file that dispute, or have filed that dispute, those disputes. So maybe you don't have amenities you had amenities such as a nice fence, maybe that got removed, or maybe check your zoning. Is the house properly zoned? Maybe it's got a drainage or utility easement that you could show that this affects values. Again, what can you do to show in your dispute that it's not worth what they're taxing you for? Also, be nosy. Check out your neighbors and around you. what are they being taxed? If they're being taxed less, then just say they've got a 322 with the same square footage as mine. Theirs is actually nicer. Again, don't be proud of your home when it comes to taxes. And I would like my value to be decreased. However, whatever you can use in order to dispute that value. Um, how much is their property tax? It really is your business when it comes to your neighbors in that situation. Okay, so always check your neighborhood and make sure. Um, so your word of caution: make sure when you're doing these, when you're saying, my neighbor's house is valued less, I want that to go down, but maybe you have a 4-bedroom and they have a 3-bedroom, or maybe you have 4 bathrooms and they only have 2. And so at that point, you may not win that argument. So make sure you're comparing apples to apples at that point. That's just always on that. Um, the obviously an appraiser, a tax appraiser that you're going to talk to in the review board. If you've got a brand new home and you're talking about a house that's 100 years old, that's not apples to apples when you're comparing that. So that's important on that. So if you feel like this is too much work, you may want to hire an expert. We don't give out names, but at that point we also, there are good companies out there. They may, now that we only have 10 days, they may be a little bit too busy to order to do it. But it's certainly, if that's something that you can do. But guys, it's really not that hard. It takes probably 30 minutes, maybe 20 minutes then time you talk to them. Let's say 45 minutes top, time you do the conversation, etc., etc. And if you win some, on our properties, we win. Last year we won some, we didn't win some, but that's okay. The ones we won, taxes went down, so we'll take it. And the nice thing is now taxes went down last year, so then if they increased it 5% this year, then it wasn't as much, right? So we'll take it. So again, the answer is no till you ask. Also, if this is your homestead, make sure that, can you qualify for an over 65 exemption? If you're over 65 or more, do you have your over 65 exemption on your house? In a lot of counties, not every county, but a lot of counties, if you have an over 65 exemption, then your taxes are frozen, so they don't increase year by year by year, even though your value may increase, but the amount that you're being taxed doesn't increase. Not every county freezes your taxes. In addition, it's important that not every county, if you buy the house and then you get your taxes frozen, and then you sell that home and move to a different county, there's no guarantee that that county that you move to will freeze your taxes. Every county is different and every city is different. So you want to check with the county and give them a call. And again, you can find those numbers on Dallas CAD or Collin County CAD or TAD for Tarrant County, Kaufman CAD, whatever the case may be. There are specific rules for disabled. If you're a disabled person, there's specific rules that you can contact them and see if you qualify in those rules, and you can get a discount on your taxes for disability with specific guidelines. Every county has their own set of rules, but the answer is no to yes, so you might as well ask, right, if you're getting that. You also, the tax ceiling transfer request, which is what I was talking about, the over 65, and you're going to a different county, you could possibly get the tax ceiling transfer request depending on the county. All right, and then a tax deferral, and that has to do with if you're older. Again, I won't go into that one because it's a very unique product and not every county does it. All right, but if you're interested and you're older, you may want to call the county and say, hey, can you talk to me about the tax deferral guidelines to that. It doesn't mean that they don't get paid eventually. It's just it's a deferral for assistance. So I hope that this helps. Again, I do apologize that I wasn't able to show my screen with all my notes, but so Dawn, do I understand correctly? If you have a homestead, they can't tax more than each year. So each year, so let's say for an example that and Don, how are you, darling? It's good seeing your name there. The So let's say that you have $100,000 sales price when you bought it. Okay, so the next year it can't be more than 110 in taxable. It can be valued at more, but it can only be taxed at the 110 in our example. And then the following year it's 10% of that 110, and then the following year it's 10% of that 10%, right? So it's not frozen like the first time you buy it and then it never goes up, right? But it's 10% in a given year, provided that you do have a homestead on it. And then again, you can have your disability exemption on there too for those that have a disability. And then you can get a discount. There are definitely caveats to that, so make sure you're talking the counties. But the cheapest you can get your taxes, get them. Don't be proud when it comes to those taxes, right? Um, Let me see if there was any questions. Again, guys, I do apologize. If you'll put in the chat room or PM me, I will send you my notes. So I apologize that I couldn't show them on screen. I think that is all. It's good to see your name again, Miss Dawn. All right, I hope that helps. And we'll go ahead and post this, and we'll post our notes as soon as I can figure out what's wrong with my computer. So, all right, have a good one. Thank you so much. If we can help you, our office number is 972-278-3400. My cell is 214-802-1868, and email is linda.davidson@fairwaymc.com. Have a blessed one. Thanks.